Republican Texas Senator Ted Cruz locking horns on Twitter with Progressive Squad member Democrat Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez over whose party is responsible for stalling a coronavirus relief bill after Congress left Washington for a week-long Thanksgiving recess with no deal on the table. Let's welcome in Republican Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Congressman, good to see you again. Thanks for coming in. You're always so optimistic and happy, even if it's bad news we're talking about. You make me feel better. But let's talk about what's going on here, because the charge from Ted Cruz is that Democrats are stalling this bill in order to help them out in the Georgia Senate race. How would that actually help Democrats?
Well, David, first off, thanks for having me on. I always enjoy coming on with you. And as always, please just call me Guy. Now, as far as the Democrats stalling, we have to remember that the Democrats stalled on a COVID relief package all through the summer and all through the fall. They are using the American people as pawns to score cheap political points. But just as this backfired on Nancy Pelosi, actually losing seats in the House when she was projected to pick up 20, it's going to also backfire in Georgia with these runoff elections. Because at the end of the day, David, people know that there are Americans out there that need help. It's the Republicans who have the plan that's roughly $500 billion to make sure that we have more unemployment compensation, to make sure we have direct stimulus payments that go directly to American citizens, and, of course, money for the very popular programs, PPP and the EIDL loan and grant programs. It's the Democrats that have been stalling.
Well, let me just challenge you then. In that case, I would suggest that you disagree with Mr. Cruz, because it couldn't possibly help, if what you say is true, it couldn't possibly help Democrats in the Georgia race. I really think that the Democrats have fought this out. I mean, they particularly Nancy Pelosi is about as manipulative in her what she does and what she asks other congressional members to do. So don't you think they've thought about this and think that Americans would blame Republicans if this thing doesn't pass?
Well, is Nancy Pelosi calculating? Absolutely, she is. But here's the calculation that's going on, David. The Democrats are trying to ride two horses at the same time. You saw them do it with Biden. They're trying to do it in these special elections because they're trying to be moderate enough to pick up swing voters. But they still have to be far enough left to motivate their base and to keep the far left radicals on board. That's why Nancy Pelosi will not cave on a COVID relief package and why she's stalling, because she wants this radical agenda of that the far left is calling for, such as direct stimulus payments to illegal immigrants, tax cuts for billionaires and millionaires in blue states, and of course bailing out the budgets of these blue states where their budgets have been mismanaged for years. But Nancy Pelosi cannot meet us halfway, us being Republicans. She can't meet us halfway with a what I would call a skinny COVID relief package, because if she does, it's going to be viewed as a sellout to their far left radical base and drive their turnout down in the special election.
Let me ask about something that's kind of off the radar, but that might be used in the final weeks of the Trump administration. Secretary of the Treasury Mnuchin just announced about a week ago that he was going to take money back from the Federal Reserve Bank that had been given to the Fed for emergency relief loans if necessary. A lot of it wasn't necessary. Over $100 billion. I don't know the exact amount because it's unclear how many loans were actually lent out, but it was only about $13 billion in loans. So you're going to have $100 billion or so back into the Treasury Department that maybe could be repurposed by the Trump administration for relief aid. Is that possible?
It is possible, but remember, in the other relief programs, the Democrats put a lot of strings on those funds with the administration. But at the end of the day, not all the money has been allocated. Sadly, where the money has been exhausted is where the money needs to go to replenish it. And again, direct stimulus payments to individuals who really need help, and then targeting money at businesses and industries that need the money. Again, I'd like to see more PPP, which is a paycheck protection program, more funds into that to help small businesses, and then the EIDL loans and grants program. So we should be focused where we need to focus, and that's to get aid to people and businesses that need it. But again, the Democrat wish list that's being floated around and that's being stalled out in the hopes of getting, it's just outlandish. There's no way that giving stimulus payments to illegal immigrants is going to help this situation. And again, tax cuts to billionaires and millionaires in blue states and bailing out blue states budgets. It's just not relevant to what's going on.
All right. Well, there are only 8 days left in the congressional calendar. 8 days to get something done. And meanwhile, millions of Americans need help. So I hope something is done. Congressman Guy Reschenthaler, great to see you again, Congressman.